yoga pants that are
We're
cut off.
Sorry. Oh. It's just all pants from the waist down. We've established that. Anyway. Yes. Right. So, we begin tonight's adventure with Maxwell Porter. Now, for the benefit of the audience, where does Maxwell does he have an office? Does he just work out of his house? Where does he run his fine antiquarian business from?
Well, thankfully, the course of my work has brought in a small amount of money, and it has afforded me a reasonably sized home in which I store many of the things that I will later bring to museum or find their way to private collections.
Okay. And where do you sort of source these items from? Is it usually ones you found on your expeditions, or do people bring them to you? How do you usually get them?
Typically on my expeditions, I will find some, although it has been some time since I went out. And so there are various sources amongst the town, Mudlarks, that type of thing. Grayson Morris in particular is quite a very good man for finding things that have find themselves places that they should not be.
Indeed he is, but it's not Grayson who brings you the item. It is in fact one of the Mudlarks you mentioned. One of these, they pick along the shores of the Thames, sort of hunting for things that have washed up. Mostly very unpleasant things, this being the Thames in the 1880s, not the cleanest of rivers. But amongst the rubbish, there is the occasional treasure. And yesterday, a treasure was brought to you by a young mudlark called May, who comes by from time to time trying to sell you things. Most of what she brings you is essentially rubbish. But yesterday, what she brought to you was this little pendant. Because we made a very verdigreed bronze, and in the shape of a fish. She sort of pushed it in, like held it out towards you, and Mr. Porter, I found it. Thought it might be worth a couple of shillings.
Yes, dear, I do think that would be worth. Let me take a closer look, and might I make an appraisal of it?
Yeah. And what you just said? Yeah. And she sort of holds out this little fish pendant towards you.
Forgive me, as I am quite new to the system. I've rolled a 20, and that is underneath my appraisal.
Yes, in which case that is a success. So you hold this out. It's definitely worth more than a few shillings, but not a whole lot more. It looks to be possibly 12th or 13th century. Historically interesting, if not that valuable on sort of the general collector's market.
Well, then I suppose I could part with a pound note for you, dear. There you are.
A whole pound, sir?
Yes, you've brought me so many wonderful things over the years, and I know that you will find your way back again with something fascinating.
Oh. She kind of takes a great finger. And I found it. I didn't nick it or anything.
No, dear, I don't suppose you're the sort for that type of thing.
Whole pound. Thank you, sir.
The pleasure is mine, dear, but forgive me. There are other things to attend to this morning, and I think that this particular artifact may find a wonderful home today.
Of course, sir. Anyway, best be going. Tide will be out soon.
Yes. Well, be safe down there, dear, and try not to be too covered in the muck if you can avoid it.
I washed this and everything.
Oh, no, I don't mean to make comment on your appearance, dear, only that I wish that you stay as positive and clean as you can.
Yes, sir. And she scampers off, leaving you light £1 and with this little fish pendant in your hand.
Mm.
It's not much of a thing, but as you hold it, you swear for a moment you could almost hear the sound of the waves in your ears, just for the briefest of moments.
Strange sort of thing. I suppose I would set about cleaning it up a bit and see if I can get a better idea of where it may have come from.
Yeah, she used to clean it off. As I said, it's probably 12th century. Looks like it would have been part of some, like, maybe like a larger piece of a necklace or something greater. It's a little unusual in design. Like, the design reminds you almost of older sort of Saxon jewelry, but it's definitely, the making of it seems to be medieval.
Quite fascinating. I wonder if I might consult someone else and see if I can find a bit more information about this. So, barring any appointments, I suppose I might set out towards the museum.
Yeah, so as you head off towards the museum, that brings us to 3 other people who are heading to the museum that day. It's a beautiful sunny day in London. There's not a trace of fog in sight. And 3 young women are making their way up the steps of the British Museum. You can see ahead of you this vast colonnade, these huge stone columns, still quite fresh and new looking. And a buzz with tourists and visitors sort of climbing up the steps to see the great attractions of the British Museum. Finds brought in from Egypt, from Levant, from all corners of the empire. But here, for the edification and display of the people of London, to help show them just the wonders of the world. And Maddie, you're very familiar with this museum, so you know your way sort of around every nook and cranny of it by this point almost. But I don't know if Irene and Lottie would have visited before.
Please remind me, is there someone watching admittance to the museum, or is it open for all?
I can't remember if there was a charge back then. I will say for the point of convenience that there's like a very minimal charge.
Okay.
But you are known to the staff and you'll be able to bring in guests. That's fine.
All right. In that case, I will approach the entrance and I will indicate that Lady Irene and Detective Lottie are with me.
Morning, Miss Carter. Lovely to see you.
Pleasure to see you as well. I have 2 guests with me today I wanted to show around.
No problem, Miss Carter. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. If you'd follow me, ladies.
I'm so excited. Thank you, Maddie, and thank you, Lottie, for coming. This is sure to be fun.
Of course. I wouldn't miss it. It's always nice when I don't have to force my way into something and I'm simply invited.
What would you like to see first?
Ooh.
To be quite honest, I don't really know what the museum offers. I'm happy to see anything. I think just the day away from what we recently dealt with is all I was looking for.
Well, let's go to my department first, and then I'll show you around the displays, and then I'll take you behind into the offices so that you can see some of what we do.
Lovely.
And I will guide them into the European section of the museum so that they can see some of what of the medieval things were.
Okay, so you're heading up sort of towards the medieval English history section of the museum. And as you're heading up in that direction, you possibly pass by on the way a gentleman with a splendid-looking moustache and sort of hat. Who Maddie you'd recognise as a fairly frequent visitor to Sir John's house, one of his many friends in London society. And Maxwell, as you're heading towards the offices of one of the museum medievalists, you catch sight of Miss Carter, Sir John's grannies, and two companions.
What a splendid day! Oh, Miss Carter, what brings you to the museum?
Mr. Porter, pleasure to see you. I am here giving a small tour to some friends of mine, Lady Irene von Watts and Detective Lottie Shaw.
Pleasure, dears. Pleasure, I'm sure. Well, I find myself here on business this morning. Recently, an artifact has come to me, just today, as a matter of fact. Perhaps it would interest you as well. And I'll present the little fish to Miss Carter.
I will look it over. Do I notice anything about it?
Say, make me your choice of history, archaeology, appraise, occult, whatever you're going for here in terms of a skill check. I'd say this is a fairly broad school of potential here.
All right, let me see. Let's go with history. The green one, yes?
The green button it is, indeed.
It must not be from my expertise.
Yeah, you can't really pin down anything sort of specific about it. It's perhaps yours is a slightly different area of medieval history. I don't know.
I'm unsure. I've never seen something quite like this. But my field of study is a little bit smaller than most.
Well, dear, I do believe it to be 13th or 14th century, and it would appear to me to be a piece of larger jewelry of some sort, and with any luck, we'll fetch a small reward for it.
Yes, possibly. I'm certain we have some books or other information in the library. Let's see. You could always speak with Professor Ashford himself, and he'd be able to direct you to who might best know.
Yes, but you are here bringing your guests. Please do not let me take up your time visiting businessmen.
No problem. If you find yourself with some free time, we'll be wandering around.
Yes, I suppose after my dealings I will have some time, and it would be quite nice to come to meet Miss Watts. Is it Miss or Mrs.? I'm sorry.
It's Miss Von Watts.
Yes, Miss Von Watts and Miss Detective Shaw, I should say. Yes.
Yes, Detective only. Thank you.
Ah, yes, of course, Detective. My apologies. I don't mean to be overly familiar. But please, enjoy the museum. I will attend to my business.
Of course. Likewise.
Okay, so you part ways, and Maxwell heads on towards the back offices, and the ladies sort of start to take a bit of a tour around the medieval collection. It's only a couple of minutes later, as Maddie's just showing them through various collections of swords and shields and old coins, that you hear a commotion towards the front of the medieval gallery. And you see a young woman who seems to be arguing with sort of one of the museum staff, one of like the more security guard staff. She's, I mean, bedraggled is perhaps a generous way of putting it. She's got this many times patched skirt, this shirt that looks like it's been dipped in the Thames several times, and her sort of hair pinned back up. And she said, "No, look, the man at the front door said he went this way. I need to find him. Just let me in. I've paid my entrance and everything."
Excuse me, is there a problem?
This young lady is upsetting the other visitors.
All right, well, excuse me, please. Let me assist with this briefly. I'll be right back. Why don't we come off the floor and see what the issue is, please? So as not to disrupt.
I was just going to kick her out. I mean, you're some kind of mud rat.
She paid her entrance.
I did.
Well, then she
Oh.
shouldn't be removed.
Look, just don't. As long as she doesn't cause her trouble for everyone else, you handle her. He sort of pushes her gently towards you.
You can see Detective Lottie actively fidgeting like she wants to get involved, but is trying to like, no, she can handle it. It's fine. Detective doesn't need to get involved. So she's just kind of like, maybe I should get involved.
This shirt was clean on today. And look, I paid my entrance to them. I don't know what all their fuss is about. I just need to find Mr. Porter, that's all.
What did you need to find Mr. Porter for?
I need the fish back. Sorry, that doesn't make much sense. I gave him, it's not like a real fish. I found it, well, look, I need to find Mr. Porter. He's like, yay high, big moustache, wears a top hat. The guy at the front gate said he went this way. It's really important. I need to find him before he like sells it to anyone.
What's
Why
wrong
would-
with the fish?
I just need it back, that's all. Do you know where I can find him?
He's not. He's in private offices at the moment.
Yes. Did you sell it to him?
Yeah, I'll give him the money back. Well, most of it. I might have to, I'll pay him back.
Well, it would be his choice whether or not he wants to relinquish it back to you. It is now his property.
Look, I really need it. I need it back.
What's the reason?
Someone came looking for it. I didn't nick it, okay? I didn't nick it. But this woman, she dropped it and she came looking for it. And look, I need him to give it back so I can give it back to her.
Give me just a moment. Let me go speak with him. Detective Shaw, do you mind staying with her? Sorry.
Huh?
I think we should be fine. Keeper, could I do a psychology roll to see if this lady is on the up and up?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Most definitely you can. Roll me some psychology here. She is coming across as very, very nervous. Like, she's seen something that's really spooked her. Like, she, looks moderately terrified and frantic. And you're also getting, whenever she's exclaiming that she didn't nick it, like, it's not necessarily that she did, but there's guilt in there as well. She's hiding something big and she's terrified.
I kind of lean towards Maddie and kind of whisper, it's like, I'm getting the feeling that she might have, in fact, nicked it. Maybe? But she is really scared. Maybe we should hurry to get to Maxwell Porter.
That's fine. I will go search for him now. And I will turn and go into the offices, searching out Professor Ashford, since that's the person that I told him to look for.
Okay, so at this point, Maxwell, you're probably in the office with, if you followed Maddie's directions, Matthias Ashford, who is the director of this part of the collections. Ah, Mr. Porter, I believe. We've met at the opening of the new Egyptian gallery, I believe. Oh,
Yes, I do believe it was. I had supplied a few of the artifacts that are currently on display, as I recall.
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That splendid evening, splendid evening. Well, what do you have for us today? Been back out to the Nile?
I wish. Unfortunately, business keeps me here. But occasionally things turn up. Just today, this 13th or 14th century, I'm not quite sure if I'm honest. But it is a piece of jewelry, I believe, and I'll slide the fish across the desk.
Huh. A curious thing.
Yes,
Curious indeed.
I
I can't make head nor tails of it myself, if I'm being entirely honest. It's not. I'm more of a swords and shields sort of man myself, but I could possibly pay you a few pounds to add it to the collection if that's what you're after.
Oh, a small fee wouldn't. I think it would be appropriate. I wouldn't turn it away, surely.
13th century does sound about right. Oh, hang on, is that a knock at the door? One moment, let me just see who that is.
Yes, by all means.
Ah, Miss Carter.
Pardon me, Professor. There is a young woman here to speak with Mr. Porter about a fish. I'm assuming the little fish that you showed me earlier.
I would imagine so. It was a young woman, a mudlark, who did bring this to me. Is she all right?
She seems quite disturbed and is requesting the piece back.
And just as I was about to seal the deal. Well, I suppose no harm done then. I ask that you forgive me for taking up your precious time. I think I will be...
Nothing, no bother at all. It was good to see you again. I'm glad you seem to be holding up quite well. I was...
Yes.
My apologies.
Yes.
Perhaps you might stop by for tea and we could discuss these matters a bit later. But yes, I have been keeping well enough, and I hope that you will keep twice as well.
Indeed. He pushes the fish back across the desk towards you.
I'll pick it up and say, Miss Carter, please excuse me, but if you would lead me to this young woman.
Yes, that's fine. She is this way. And as we leave the office, I'll close the door again.
Okay, so you head back towards where you had left.
On the way there, I am going to inform him of what Lady Von Watts said to me. She seems to be rather distraught. Possibly she did nick it. What the girl told me was she saw a woman drop it. She picked it up, and apparently the woman came back to pick it up again. The woman who originally dropped it.
I see. A shame. Would have been a very nice piece to have in the museum. These private collections get more and more obscene as time goes on.
Here we are.
Okay, in the time whilst the two of you have gone, was there anything that either Irene or the detective wanted to ask
Yeah, so
Your-
eventually Lottie could not take it any longer, and she would take out her notepad, and you would come back, and she's investigating.
Alright,
she's
so yeah, you've got
she's
another-
asking,
another
okay, when
little-
did it happen? Where did it happen? Does it look like it's approach? How did it fall? Are you sure it fell? Did you not take it out of her pocket?
I didn't take it out of my pocket. It was I swear, it was dropped. It was on the mud.
What kind of material is this fish exactly in such a way that it would fall so easily onto the ground?
Metal. I don't really know what sort.
Was it some kind of jewelry piece, you think, or was it just a trinket? maybe a
Necklace. I mean, I think it was a necklace.
Did it come on a chain? It can't be a necklace if it's not on a chain. Think.
I mean, I don't know if Lottie has any sort of points in charm or persuasion here. I think this might be a good call for seeing, if you can win this woman's trust a little here as you're their notebook in hand.
Yeah, so as she could notice that she's not really responding well to just the frequent questioning, she'll just... So, I mean, is this really an antique, or were you perchance just kind of looking for some money? I mean, I've been in a situation where I don't have money myself, so I would understand if that's where you're coming from, and she'll kind of use that as her bargaining chip for charm, and she failed.
Yeah, you failed?
No!
You have the choice to spend luck on this if you wish, or to push it if you want. Pushing it is like sort of pressing onwards with this, with the danger that if you fail the push roll, you might really like put her back up and...
Well, that'd be 9 luck, wouldn't it?
Yeah, or it would be 9 points of luck.
No, it's
Lady
fine.
Irene is just standing there kind of, she's smiling, but there's this whole thing going on of this isn't working while listening to Detective Lottie.
Yeah, no, she'll I don't think she's trying to be charming because she was I think it makes sense that she failed because she like held this in for a while waiting. So she's trying to come off as charming, but really she's just interrogating this
It
poor
looked
woman.
like it should have been on a necklace. It looked
Yeah.
like it should have been on a necklace. That's all I thought. But it was dropped. I know that much.
Well, there I see Mr. approaching, so I suppose you can talk it out with him. You don't want to talk it out with me, but you cannot force him to give up property that has now been officially deemed his by your transaction.
What's it?
You sold it to him, it's his.
Yeah, but now I need it back. So please,
Yes,
sir. Hi. Okay. Hi, sir.
She'll kind of step back dejectedly.
Yes, miss, I've heard that you're in a spot of trouble over this little fish, aren't you?
Yeah, look, I can give you, he kind of rummages around in your pocket and hands out a handful of coins. I can give you most of it back.
No.
And then I'll get you the rest back by like end of the week, I promise. Only I spent some of it on like some bits and bobs, and then in getting into this museum.
With a very slightly hidden look of disgust. No, dear. Please keep the coins. Keep the coins. They've already been in your pockets. It's quite all right. Tell me though, this woman who dropped the item, who was it?
I don't know who she is.
Oh, that's a shame.
She dropped. I don't know how she found me.
Ah, well.
But
breathe, dear.
She said it was her that dropped it, and she wants it back. And I've got until midnight tonight to get it back to her. Please tell me you've still got it, sir.
Yes, I still have it. Breathe, dear. Breathe, please. Calm yourself. You're safe here. You're in the museum.
Perhaps we should go into one of the private reading rooms.
If you wouldn't mind,
Yes.
Miss Carter.
And I will lead them to one of the smaller rooms that are nearby.
Yeah, so one of like the side offices or work rooms or something. Yeah, no problem.
As we walk, Lottie leans over to Lady Irene and very gossipy. It's just like, it just doesn't make any sense in that such a specific time frame. And she's basically just venting out her thoughts at Lady Irene and hoping she'll listen.
And Lady Irene is listening, and there's kind of a gentle pat to your shoulder.
Yeah, perfect.
I completely understand, dear. I understand.
Does-
We'll get to the bottom of this. I know you're a detective. That's what you do. Don't
Yes,
worry.
of
Don't
course.
worry.
We'll figure it out.
And as she turns away, there's kind of this.
Perfect. Yep.
And so you're all now safely ensconced in this back room, out of the way of prying eyes and visitors. And it's the four of you and this rather panicked-looking mudlark.
Now, dear, I do still have the fish, and I do have the intention to return it to you. However, before I do so, I would like to establish a few things. This woman who dropped it, yes? Is that still the case?
I don't know that it was her that dropped it. Someone dropped it. There were...
Huh.
It was... last night.
Yes.
Yeah. Upon our...
And
near Battersea. I was in the park, just, looking out for people, hanging around. And it got late, and there were some people down on the shore, and then when they'd left, there was this fish. And I reckon one of them must have dropped it, but, it looked like it was old and might be worth something, so I brought it to you. And then this woman comes after it, saying that it was hers and she dropped it, and that I had to bring it back to her
by midnight.
back by midnight, else, well, she kind of threatened to kill me, but...
Oh, my dear.
I think I said I didn't have it anymore, and that well, at first I said I didn't have it at all, and then she said she knew, and then she did something. And it was like I was drowning. I could taste the sea in my lung. It was not right. And it was scary. And then it was gone just as soon as I was just coughing up seawater, and she said I had until midnight to get it back, or else she'd come after me.
Yes, yes, my dear. I'm sorry.
I'm not making it up. I promise. It.
No. I don't suppose you would. Dear, here. I'll set the fish down on the table and push it towards it. Now, don't scamper off with that, please. I will return it to you, and you may have it. The only thing I ask is that perhaps you could introduce me to this woman. I might go with you when you seek to return it.
Same. Yes.
How about we all do? I'm a detective. If there's any funny business, I'd be happy to be involved preemptively.
Yes, detective. Actually, I would quite like your presence there. It's probably nothing, but one can never be too certain, I
You'll
suppose.
come with me.
Coughing up seawater.
Yes, well, I mean, you seem to be in quite a state about this, and it seems...
Well, I just don't want to end up getting thrown in the river I mean...
I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that you are safe and sound of mind during the transaction, and that there isn't any... I mean, for such a quick turnaround and deadline, especially something like midnight, I mean, that's usually something you hear in a drama or something like that.
If you would like, I can see if my uncle will loan the carriage so that we all might arrive at the location
Together.
Unharmed.
Yeah,
of course.
She said
Yes.
She said Vauxhall Bridge.
That's quite all right.
Vauxhall Bridge at midnight.
Yes,
We just want to make sure you're safe, dear. You understand?
Midnight's a dangerous time.
All sorts of people out at night.
Mm-hmm.
Pickpockets and
Very
everything.
Yes, I suppose we'll have to keep a tight watch on our pocketbooks, won't we?
Yes, yes, yes. The late evening. You never know what's going to come to pass.
Well then, my dear, if midnight is the time of the meeting, then why don't you stay a while? You've already paid for your entrance to the museum. We might take a tour together at Miss Carter's leisure, if that is possible, Miss Carter. I don't mean to take up your day.
Oh, no, I can lead you all around. We'll continue with the medieval portion, and then we can go into the Egyptian portion if you'd like.
Oh, I would quite enjoy that. I could show you a few things, you know.
A joint tour. I'm so excited. This is my first trip to the museum. I've never been.
Yes, it's quite interesting. I'm excited to see it. Tea was also promised at some point. So
Tea. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it would be all right if she joined us for tea as well, yes?
Of course.
That's fine.
if she wants to, we you
Is
know,
it free?
the tea.
Of course, dear. Of
Yes,
course.
please.
Yes.
Don't
Well, we'll see
worry.
if you get tired of us by that point.
Don't worry, Mrs. Carter. If there's any expense, I will cover it for her.
Uncle has provided the funds for today.
All the same, I wouldn't want to tax him overly much, dear.
Very well, let's start here in this room. And she'll lead them to the room next to where they are, and we'll continue to take them on a tour of the whole museum if that's wanted.
Okay, yeah. So as you take a tour around the museum, with the May sort of trailing behind, she doesn't look wholly invested in the actual history bit of it, but she kind of hovers behind the rest of you.
I would drop back a bit and offer up my arm. Come, dear, come. You must take an interest in these sort of things. Your explorations in the mud, you may find that knowing a thing or two about history will help you with that.
She perks up a bit at that and like, you mean this could help me spot like proper antiques?
That's right, dear. And who knows, one day you might not find yourself in the mud, but in a proper office, just like myself.
Of course, sir. Okay, so as you tour your way around the museum, is there anything of particular interest you want to dwell on, or shall we move on with the day? Got these.
Making a big deal about certain artifacts in the Egyptian section. No, I do think we would move on.
I might point out one or two jewelry pieces if we see any,
Okay.
but that's about it.
I'm analyzing. I'm basically studying the woman's behavior and seeing how anxious she gets as the days goes on to see
She
just how
seems to have like calmed down sort of a little from her earlier like complete panic. She still looks very nervous and quite uncomfortable, like in the sort of like the company and the like surroundings she's in.
Sure.
Like she's if you want to make another attempt to try and like win her over, win her confidence, you've got time during the day to attempt that if you would like.
No, well, I think if anything I'd want to try to do more of like a psychoanalysis.
Give me
Get an idea.
Yeah, give me a psychology roll and get to.
If she trusts us, but I guess maybe the thing is that this all feels very shady, and so I'm curious if us lending our help is going to backfire in some way. So I think that's kind of the psychoanalysis is like, does she seem like she actually is enjoying our company? Like, does it seem like she's using us for cover? Stuff like that.
This would be a psychology roll, I believe.
Great. Psychology?
Psychology, yeah.
Great. Fail. All right. Oh, my mom's laughing at me. That's good.
It's hard to get a good, precise read on her, other than the fact that she looks very uncomfortable and nervous. For Untitled reference, if you have points in psychoanalysis, because you think that should be the reading people skill, feel free to move them into psychology for future. Because I know that because psychoanalysis is more actual therapy stuff, but
Yeah.
they're very similarly named skills. So
In a very weird way, I think Detective Lottie's failure works because Irene would be doing the whole thing of trying to distract her, trying to make this entertaining and as fun as possible, while also trying to be like, stop bringing the party down.
Yeah, I'm that person that's like, oh, let's go on vacation, and then works on vacation. So that's that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
okay, so by the time you sort of had a tour around the museum and have now convened for a spot of tea, afternoon tea at the nearby tea shop. There's scones and cakes and little sandwiches and copious amounts of tea. All is right in the world. And May sat there sort of swinging her dirty shoes back and forth. And my main question is, do you have any sort of schemes and plans before midnight? Like, what's... Well, I'll say over to you guys. What's your play here?
I'm sorry, but Ravenna taking a big swig of Mountain Dew after we said scones and tea just killed me. I'm gone.
I don't have my glass of sherry this week, so I'm not getting right into it. I don't actually own any nice teacups. That's tragic.
Neither do I at this moment.
This is mine.
It's adorable. But I would probably kind of lean over to Maddie and Maxwell at some point and say, maybe we should take a tour to the library and try and do some research on that fish. I know I'm not the most bookish, but maybe.
Yes,
Wonderful idea.
it's important. Oh,
Well, there was the library inside the museum. If you don't mind waiting a moment, I can go back and see if I can find anything quickly.
Sure, I think that would be fun. I think we can entertain our guest. I think Mr. Porter can regale us with another tale while he was in the dunes.
Yes, I think I could quite manage that.
Yeah. And Irene just kind of looks over at Maddie when she's a little behind, winks and kind of.
And I will head back towards the museum since it's not too far away and start looking through what I know and see if I can find anything referring to jewelry of that sort.
I would say you've got a lovely afternoon. Give me a lovely library use roll. Best skill in the game.
Okay, I need to. This is terrible. I failed that. I want to look again.
So I would say, looking on again in this case would mean essentially you're taking longer to do this, pushing right through into the evening, sort of lighting the lamps and carrying on scouring the library. Yeah. In which case, feel free to give me that push roll.
Okay, and then there we go. How many luck was that?
That's not luck. That's just luck would be. That was a push roll. So with some things, push roll means sort of taking extra chance. Sometimes it just means taking a lot longer time to do it. Because there's very few ways well, actually, I was going to say there's very few ways in which you can riskily read a book. But no, really, there's quite a lot of ways you can riskily read a book. This is Call of Cthulhu. Books are very dangerous. But yeah, you push through into the evening searching this library. And we'll get back to what you find in just a moment. I just want to go over to the others and ask, what would they be doing with this time?
I think I'd be very genuinely interested in. I think at this point I've just decided that this actually has she given her name, the lady?
If you'd asked, her name is May.
May. Yeah. I think at this point I would have just kind of given up on May and just accepted that she's just this weird situation we'll find more about, and I'd be more interested in getting to know Mr. Porter. So I'd listen to his tales and ask questions. And...
Well, yes, and we had traveled 5 days, and as the sun was breaking over the... Oh, sorry, dear.
I was just curious if maybe I could look at the fish. I've never seen such an artifact before, you know? I didn't mean to interrupt your story. It was very riveting.
Not at all, dear, not at all. Fascinating artifacts must always take a break from old retellings. So please take a look.
And I'm gonna pick up the artifact and kind of look at it, curiosity, and with the telling of, you know, seawater drowning and previous events of the mist trying to kill us all, I think I might make an occult roll.
Yeah, I think that would be very fitting. Let's see if this speaks to anything, the occult knowledge you have. So you turn this sort of back and forth over in your hands. You can swear for a moment you hear the sea.
Didn't do so well.
That's a 44 against a 40.
Ooh, I will use some luck points to actually do this.
Okay, so as you turn it over in your hands, you recall having seen a similar design of fish drawn in a similar way, and trying to put a pin on where you exactly saw it. Carved. You remember seeing it sort of carved into like a lintel somewhere? Like you've definitely seen this before. And the only thing that sort of comes to your mind as associated it was with a brief mention of someone mentioning the worship of like the river itself, something to do with like the worship of the Thames and offerings into the river. You're trying to remember who told you it. You definitely remember it was a dinner party, one of those late night evenings after a seance, getting trapped in conversation with someone, and them sort of pointing to this carved lintel and talking about the power of the river itself. And yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny now that I think about it. I think I might remember something. I meet so many strange people in my profession. So it's I've heard rumors of perhaps there are people that worship the Thames. I know it sounds silly, but
Oh, well, silly or not, perhaps it is something to pursue. What is it that is your profession, dear? I don't believe I caught it.
I'm a medium. Seances, occultists.
Oh, I see. Well,
It's all very
I
fashionable.
suppose- Yes, and I suppose we must all make our money some way or another. I hope at least it treats you well.
Are there fish in the Thames? and Detective Lottie's just so caught up on this. You see, I didn't know there were fish in the Thames.
Perhaps once. Although,
Industry has kind of squandered that, if I'm correct, Mr. Porter.
oh, yes, unfortunately, and being used as a disposal for many, many years didn't provide it any aid either, but
That's quite
these
an
things
ironic
happen.
item, then. The irony of a fish made of metal after the fish have been driven out by the workings of metal.
Yes,
Well,
I suppose it is quite funny, isn't it?
Yes.
Apparently, they'll go to the beach and leave offerings and things of that sort, or something. It was from a late night conversation several
Yes.
months back.
Well, we must all take comfort in certain things, I suppose. But these superstitions are a bit far-fetched for my taste.
Yes, I agree with you. Someone agrees with me. I am. We've seen some odd things in the past few days, and I think they are perfectly logical and reasonable to be figured out, but some of us disagree. But I think we'll get to
The
the bottom of
mind
it.
experiencing trauma, it seeks to explain away
Oh, of
everything.
course.
So,
Yes.
but
But, well, I suppose, Miss May, did it seem like potentially this person carrying this fish could have been carrying other things as offerings? Did she seem like that sort to you?
She goes very quiet for a moment. And she goes, I think they had someone. With them.
someone.
It was dark. I didn't get close. But there was a very big splash.
Very big splash.
I probably shouldn't have told you.
No, dear. That's very important information. Detective. I know we had intended to arrive just as the meeting was to happen, but do you think perhaps it would be advisable to take a trip there a bit earlier? Well, I don't really want to get down in the mud myself, but
Yes, I think it is my duty to get there as early as possible at this point.
And maybe see the scene, perhaps, where May here was looking on. And
Yes, perhaps one of us could run to fetch Miss Carter and let her know where we're going.
I suppose that I might do that. The museum being such a lovely place, and
Of course.
perhaps then I can fetch the carriage as well, if it is available after all.
Mhm.
Yes, and well, Miss May, would you feel comfortable going back to the scene with us at this time?
What, back down to Battersea?
Yes.
Suppose.
But just think, dear, you might get in a bit of picking before your meeting and find something worthy of another pound.
Very
Oh,
true.
pound. You gave me a whole pound.
I assure you, you are safe here with us. And she kind of taps her hand gently, and she smiles, and she is trying to do the charm.
All right. Oh, if you go with me, I'll go back. I'll show you where I found it.
Yes, and if anything were to get out of hand, I mean, I obviously have.
And she looks quite taken by, like, you definitely feel like she's warming to Lady Irene here. It's like she looks up, and there's almost a spark of recognition. She gives a little wink and a smile towards Irene. Yeah, I'll go with you.
You'll be safe. There's nothing to be afraid here.
Excellent. Well, this is perfect. So we should go about finding some kind of carriage ourselves. And then I suppose maybe we won't all be arriving at the scene at the same time, but we will see you in due time, Mr. Porter, accompanied by Miss Carter, and we will get to the bottom of everything, as Lady Irene said earlier.
Okay.
Except now I'm worried that the bottom might be the bottom of the river, but we will see.
Okay, so Maddie, May, and Irene, Lottie, and May are going down to Battersea Park.
Mhm.
Whilst Maxwell is going to get Maddie. Yeah. So, as Lottie, Irene, and May head down towards Battersea across to the other side of the river, we go over to Maddie shortly before Maxwell arrives at the library. As, like, you've been at this for hours, like, poring through these books, looking for anything that sort of connects to this fish.
Mhm.
When you pull down a rather slim-looking tome that on sort of less medieval, more sort of Saxon sort of design, sort of mixed in there. Like it seems to be rather chaotically written. People sort of making like rough notes on various bits of jewelry and items that have been dug out of the River Severn, or further to the west. And you find one sort of page illustrating this image of like this necklace made up of lots of tiny like fish, similar to the one that you saw. And it notes in the description of it being ceremonial garb of a priest of Dagon.
Priest of Dagon.
Priest of Dagon.
I will cross-reference that with one of the books for religions.
So Dagon is mentioned as being to do with Assyrians and connected potentially to the sea, but not necessarily. The name Dagon you would come across as an Assyrian deity. Not really one that you'd expect to find worshipped in Wales or Bristol. Where this ceremonial necklace thing that is illustrated here was found.
Well, I mean, you can find people of many religions in places of large population. So I will make a note of this, and I will actually pocket the smaller tome with the image actually drawn in it.
Yeah. Okay, so you've pocketed this it's like collection of findings from the Seven is the title.
Mm-hmm. Let me write this down.
Let me write this down. Collection of findings from the Severn Valley. And seven is spelt with a I think with an R. If I can remember how to spell actual rivers.
All right. And also to note, the pockets inside of the Victorian skirts and dresses were huge.
Jealous.
So jealous. All right. And then I will go to put some of the books back.
And it's probably at this point, as you're returning the books, that Maxwell arrives on the scene. To find the light, the museum's pretty much shut up for the night. There's just a few researchers burning the midnight oil, and Maddie is alone in this library.
Oh, Miss Carter, Miss Carter.
Yes.
It seems time to head down to the site of the happenings. We've found some additional details that require a bit of closer inspection. I do hope you found what you were looking for.
Yes, I found some things.
Oh, excellent. Well, perhaps we'll save it until we arrive. Did you have a chance, dear, to see if your uncle's carriage was available?
I forgot to send the note, but we do have the carriage still, so that's how we got here.
Then let's hope that it's available. If not, then I suppose we will have to walk.
Well, if we have to walk, we have to walk.
Yes, being so late, though. Well, I suppose you have someone to guide you. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yes, let's go to the carriage and see if the carriage is actually still here.
Yes, the carriage. Well, did the others of you take the carriage that the rest of you arrived in, or had you
No,
found
we
other
left
ways?
it at the museum because we went to the tea house nearby.
In which case, yes, your carriage is available. Although, for point of reference, Sir John's house is only like 2 streets away from the museum.
I didn't know that.
Neither did I until I looked both up where Grosvenor Square was. If you look on the map, it's literally like
Well, in that
4 doors
case, we
down.
probably would. The carriage would probably be at home, so
Yeah.
we'd have to walk to fetch it.
Yeah, it's just up the road, round the corner. You're able to gather the carriage. By now, it's late in the evening. Where are you planning to head to with this carriage?
Oh, I think we would be intending to meet up with the others at the site of these strange occurrences.
Okay, so you're heading down to Battersea to meet the others on the banks of the Thames. All right. So as you head to get the carriage, and as the others been down on their bank for some time, I think, if everyone is agreeable, that might be a good spot for a quick break. I can get that going, and we'll be back with you in 10 minutes. All right.
Take care.
We are back. So, while Maxwell and Maddie are still up at the library, Irene, Lottie, and May arrive down at Battersea Park on the banks of the Thames. It's pretty much a park, I think, at this point under construction. It's only just sort of started to be a thing, and you're on what was at the time pretty much the edge of London. As the city starts to slowly sprawl outwards with more and more rapidly, you find yourself in this large park on the banks of the river. And it's quite quiet at this time of night. It's not really got that much of a pleasure garden scene like the Vauxhall Gardens. But there's a few people around taking a late evening walk as May leads you down towards the banks of the river. And as you get nearer, you smell the river before you see it. Because the Thames is, even this far up, already starting to be a bit of it's an open sewer. And this is the cleaner end of it up here in Chelsea. But she leads you down to the bank. You can see across the river, sort of the shape of the Chelsea Hospital and the gardens across the other side, and down this mud-strewn rocky bank. And she goes, "This here around here was where I saw him. I was picking up around on the shore down this end and kind of looking out for people, and they came down that way, a whole group of them, down to the bank. So I stepped back in the shadows. There was some kind of shouting or something, and then a big splash. Then they all headed back off up that way, but they were wearing cloaks and stuff. So I walked over to where they'd been, and that's where I saw it in the glinting in the moonlight. So I picked it up. And that's where I got the fish." He points around on the bank. About there.
Well, I suppose let's check for footprints. I suppose that might be one of the first things to do. You said there were how many people? It was just the one, or it was a gathering?
No, there were half a dozen of them. I wasn't sure. I didn't really count properly. I was trying to stay out of the way, but
Good.
yeah, you can make me a spot hidden or a track to look for footprints. Your choice.
Let's see. My spot hidden's better. Perfect.
All right. Yeah. So as you look around on the bank, I mean, the lower part has been washed by the river, a couple of times since whatever May saw here. But further up on the bank, you can see there's a whole bunch of footprints in the mud, and possibly what look to be drag marks. There's something large, sort of half dragged, half carried down to the bank. Sort of footprints where there's a bit of footprint, then a bit of drag, then a bit of scrabbled footprints down towards the bank, and then the other footprints are about at least 6 people went down this way.
Lottie will turn, and she just kind of has this exasperated composure and look on her face. She'll look at Miss May and go, "So, you didn't think to tell the police about what you saw at all?"
I don't talk to the police.
Oh, yes, I suppose someone picking up trinkets that were dropped. Yeah, yes, never.
What any of my business?
Yes, okay. Well, I have quite a few fears that there was foul play at work here based on just the amount of people, these marks. I mean, these are clearly drag marks. I mean, unless one of them was injured somehow. I think someone was here against their will.
There's also footprints going back up the bank again. No drag marks going back up the bank.
Well, I mean, if Lady Irene, based on what you knew, these types of offerings, I mean, was there some kind of ritual, or was it simply to leave something or throw something in the river? I mean, potentially she wants back this item because it was important for some kind of part that it played in their dragging and potential disposal of people into this river, which Lord knows the Thames has plenty of already. Sorry, I don't mean to be morbid.
You're just
rather
dealing
you-
with the facts of the situation. It's okay, Detective
Yes.
Lottie.
Well, I prefer to assume the most negative and hope that I am pleasantly surprised otherwise.
There wasn't really a mention, I think, of what the sacrifices were. It's just that they would throw sacrifices into the sea or into the Thames here and basically worship the river themselves.
I'm just curious what part this fish might play for it to be so important that you request immediate retrieval of it, but at the same time, it was obviously just in a position where it could fall easily. I don't know.
And threatening a young lady's life over
Yes,
such a little thing.
quite. Well, would I know as a detective, would the police be the type to go into the river looking for things, or is it just kind of, if there's a body in there, that's wash and we'll figure it out?
I mean, they would tend to wait for bodies to float up rather than deliberately go looking for bodies.
Sure.
Some bodies would get washed all the way out to sea, but others would wash up further downstream along the banks of the river.
Great. And I would know that kind of bloat period of the body would take, well, usually that's a few days, isn't it? Before it would resurface.
Yeah, but most people that come in the river, it's like 50-50. Some will end up at sea, some will turn up at some point further down the river. It's quite a strong current.
Sure.
Or occasionally even further upriver, because it is also quite tidal.
Yeah.
But usually downstream.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, there's not much to learn from the situation beyond meeting the potential culprit and what I believe could potentially be a sacrifice. Rather unfortunate that we got caught up in this. Are you doing all right, Miss Ray? She'll kind of have this moment where she reality checks and realizes she's talking about a dead person in front of this woman.
I'm all right. I'm sorry I didn't say nothing about like the people in the cloaks before, but I thought, I don't know, I didn't want to get you involved in it because she was not right. There was something very not right about her.
Yes. Well, I'm in the business of dealing with the not rights. Well, perhaps she has a knowing look in her eye. She realizes that this is false. But she'll kind of look over to Lady Irene and go, well, perhaps you as the medium could see if there's any convention that you can hold with this person who may have already passed. See if we can find out more information from the potentially deceased.
Usually,
she's got kind of a smirk on her face a little bit.
And there's kind of there's a little bit of a look that Irene throws at Lottie. It's like, it's almost like right now. But really depends in circumstances. Most of the time I need something from the person to be able to do a proper reading. But if you insist,
Well, perhaps we could use the fish. I mean, it might hold stories about the owner or stories about what happened here, don't you think? I mean, living memory and objects and whatnot, all that things.
I've heard of this happening before. Indeed. All right. And she kind of goes to walk a little bit more onto the bank with the fish in tow.
Did we keep the fish, or did Mr. Porter keep the fish? Did he give it back to McNay?
I was handling it. I don't remember if I handed it back.
We can say you didn't.
Yeah, I could say I could just pocketed it for the moment.
Well, we were speaking with Miss May and she has to meet, so I think that would make sense. Okay, great. So you do have it.
Yes.
Great.
So Lady Irene stands on the banks of the river. She definitely, her back has turned to Lottie and them, and she's just kind of fine. And she kind of takes a deep breath in. We beseech you, individual who has been thrown into the river, perhaps from the beyond you can actually send me a message, send me a sign of something, what has happened to you. And Keeper, I don't know what you want me to roll for this.
I think in this circumstance, I am going to ask you to give me a power roll, please.
Okay.
So you're holding this fish in your hand as you're beseeching, calling out to the dead, calling out for answers. Okay. So as you stand, you hear the rush of the river water in your ears. It seems to grow louder and louder as you hold this fish in your hands. And you hear... First of all, you hear the snatch of voices. You hear, like, people's voices. You hear the sound of feet. And you can't see anything. Everything is dark. And you realise that there is a sack tied over your head. You can't see. You can sort of taste this musty smell of the sack over your head. Your hands are tied tightly together. You're being dragged and half carried down this bank as like hands grabbed onto you, and then sort of thrust down on your knees on the very banks of the river. You can feel the water lapping up around your feet, and you hear a voice speaking up over above you. You hear, "In thy name, let us behold the Father. From the depths of the water I come. From the depths the deep one have also come. Hail to the ancient dreams. Hail to Dagon." And then there's this sudden, like, touch of cold metal across your throat. And in an instant, everything goes dark and cold. And I need a sanity roll from you, Lady Irene.
Makes sense.
Did we lose the chops?
We still got him, I think.
Fish.
You lose 1 point of sanity, but otherwise, you're very able to keep your cool, although that actually worked.
There's a chill, and I believe Lottie might have seen Irene turn a few shades paler as she turns to look, and there's almost tears in her eyes. You were right. someone was sacrificed here.
Lottie looks very taken aback, and she leans in and she's like, I thought this was acting. You're not okay?
There's definitely she's shaking her head like they put this person in a sack and tied him up and then they spoke an incantation. Dagon? Does that name ring any bells to you? Oh. And
Dagon. Oh, I mean, unless I've read about it in the past, I don't know if it would mean anything to me. In college, no, I don't believe so.
But
I don't usually
the father.
I don't usually believe or sort in any of that kind of business. Illogical, really. But you've created a connection to this object, truly.
And they cut his throat before they threw him in.
Oh.
That feeling, and she kind of reaches at her neck and adjusts. She starts just hurriedly coming up the bank.
Lady Irene, do you carry any kind of weapon? If there were 6 and a man's throat has
Something's
been
happened with
slit.
my audio. I can't hear you.
Oh, hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Well, she is just fixing her audio.
I fixed it. There we go.
Oh, yes. I asked, do you carry some kind of weapon with you? Or have one?
No?
Okay. And you'll see kind of, you'll see Lottie kind of pat at her coat as if she's checking to see if she has something on her. And she has this concern, and yes, well, if there were 6 here and someone's throat has been slit, we may want more than just a friendly 5-person gathering to meet them.
Safety in numbers.
Yes, quite. Miss May, I believe we should take a step away from the river until the rest of our group arrives. And Detective will, I'll actually go over to Lady Irene and kind of put a hand on her and study her, now that I'm realizing how much this actually did impact her. Yes, well, last time something like this happened, we had a drink, so let's find the nearest place to procure a drink, shall we?
I was just about to ask if you had a flask in one of those many pockets of yours.
Of course. Miss May, how about a drink? Another free thing for you, my dear.
Yeah, sure, I'll take a drink. Did she talk?
We will go to the nearest place to get a drink.
As you head for a nearest place to get a drink, you notice May sort of keeping a little more distance from Irene now. She kind of just keeps glancing over, giving her like a wary look. Like, she talked to dead people.
I am a medium, dear.
And she kind of hangs back away from you, a little more wary of what she's got mixed up in here. But you head over to a nearby establishment to get a drink. And it's not long after that you see a carriage drawing up towards the edge of Fantasy Park. A familiar-looking one, I believe. And that it is Sir John's carriage. Because I believe Maddie and Maxwell were planning on heading down to the park, but they've been been caught up in the library at some time. So from inside your local drinking establishment, you see as Maddie and Maxwell arrive at the edge of the park.
There they are.
Yes. I'll go ahead and flag them down. You two stay here and rest for a moment. And I'll kind of quickly get up and brush myself off and walk outside and flag them down. Oh, Miss Carter, we're actually right over here if you want to find a place for the carriage, and she'll just kind of be keeping pace with the carriage.
Was somebody driving the carriage? Not me.
I would. I've done a bit of driving in my time.
In which
Okay,
case
so if you're driving.
Yeah, you're driving. I won't ask for a drive carriage. I'll only ask for that in case of a high-speed carriage chase.
We can make that happen.
No, really, it's quite all right. Have you discovered anything?
Yes, well, how much merit you put to it, I suppose is... Well, like we discussed, I am not the type to not find reason in things. I believe there's an explanation, and Lady Irene is a medium. I have my doubts about that and what she's capable of, but I believe she has, whether it's truly connecting with the dead, she's connected in some empathic way and revealed further information that I think you all should hear about and be prepared for. We were grabbing a drink, actually. It was rather exhausting for her to go through, so if you could be kind. I mean, I've met you so far today, you are quite kind, but she's just a little tired out from what's occurred.
Yes, I'm sure the night air and all the excitement is a bit much.
Yes, well, let's go ahead and meet and discuss over a drink or two. And does anyone have the time?
Oh, let's see. And I'll check on a small watch.
By now, I would say about 11 o'clock.
Oh, it's full day. 11 already.
Well, we have an hour to steel ourselves for what's ahead. I'll head back inside and make sure that Lady Irene is quite all right, and I'll see you inside.
Yes, of course. And I'll find a place to park this carriage and escort Miss Carter.
Wonderful. And she'll quickly head back inside.
Irene's literally leaning against the table, rubbing her temples.
Yeah, so you found a table by the fire in this pub down not far off the river, with an hour to go till midnight. Well, any plans to be made?
Once Mr. Porter and Miss Carter are inside, I will go over the notes that I found, as well as I will pull out the book and show them the picture of the ceremonial necklace and point out the fact of who the god was, which was Dagon.
Excellent. Lady Irene, are you comfortable telling about it again? I know it's quite overwhelming. Well, I noticed some footprints, and we discussed with Miss May the amount of people that she saw and what exactly they were doing, and it was apparent there were drag marks toward the Thames, and being educated in my profession, that typically means only one thing, so quite frankly, it was a bit of a joke. I didn't intend for it to result in such this way, but I thought maybe Lady Irene could see if there was some kind of mystical presence about this fish, since it is seemingly so important, and it turns out there was. We learned a little bit more about what exactly transpired, if Lady Irene feels comfortable repeating.
They killed a man and threw him into the sea.
Yes, with incantations, right? Of this god, this Dagon.
In thy name, let us behold the Father. From the depths of the water I come. From the depths of the water, the deep ones also have come. Hail to the ancient dreams. Hail to Dagon. And that was what was said before they slit this man's throat.
Yes, it's. I mean, it's quite preposterous, and I suppose with this proof now that is truly someone that exists in some capacity or is believed to be worth worshiping. But regardless of what the situation is, whether it's true or not, or if there is some actual sacrifice and outcome going on, people who believe in this sort of thing can be very dangerous in their standings and what they'll do to appease what they believe to be true. So I think in this meeting that we expect to have tonight, we should be well equipped, if you understand what I mean.
Quite honestly, Detective, I'm not very sure of what you mean. It sounds like, well, not to dismiss your concerns, but it just sounds a bit far-fetched, really. You've seen a murder that hasn't happened. Surely you saw evidence of the banks of something, but and you are disturbed. That is clear, but why do we think they will be coming to do something negative to us? We bring back what they have requested, and I had intended to keep some distance myself, just observe.
Yes, but if they are using this object for some kind of ritualistic sacrifice, I don't think we should enable them, or else more deaths will happen, and ultimately that ends up being something that falls onto me and those in my profession. And I think we all agree that the death of an innocent person for the sake of something, like you said, far-fetched and unrealistic, is something that should be avoided and that we may have hands in. I understand you are civilians of the public. I shouldn't necessarily involve you in something so potentially highness, and I understand. I mean, I wouldn't believe something like this either, but I've known Lady Irene for some time now, and this is not made up.
Oh, very well. I suppose we must take your concerns seriously, Detective, but how do you suppose we ready ourselves? I don't quite understand your meaning.
I'll just be prepared in case they become violent, I suppose. Do you have some kind of arming? Do you potentially have a knife or?
Well, no. Why would I carry something like that? Of course, during the expeditions, we did use things to drive off the snakes from time to time, but
Well, that should be enough. If these people were to come at you like vipers, then drive them off.
very well. Let's hope that it doesn't come to that.
Yes. This is foolish. We should just call the police. And
Precisely.
Uncle would not appreciate that.
Yes. Well, much like last time, we didn't call the police, and look where that got us. Well, maybe I am being overprepared. Perhaps we should just I mean, the time is coming soon. We may as well just go out there and see what happens. I just don't want any of you to get hurt by people who believe they are in the right over their fallacies that they've created.
Well,
very well.
Certainly, they won't overpower the five of us together, yes?
Yes, quite. Yes, well, very true. Let us go, I believe. Miss May, are you ready?
I suppose I have to go. Yeah.
I'm not trying to scare you. Sorry. I just yes, let's go. And Detective will just kind of basically duck her head out and walk out.
It's all right. You are in good hands, May.
What happened last time? No,
We are.
it's fine. It's fine.
It's all right. Pat on the shoulder.
Okay. So you head out towards Vauxhall Bridge. By now, it's night time. The city is quieting down. It's the dim glow of gas lamps. You can see the stone arches of the old Vauxhall Bridge. As you pull up your carriage nearby to it, and you can see there, halfway out across the bridge, a single figure stood waiting at the midpoint of the bridge. Just one person. By now, a slight fog has started to rise off the river. Just a slight one. Just reading the scene in slight haziness.
And Miss Carter is now a little bit nervous.
A few other passers-by, a few other carriages and pedestrians head over the bridge. That single figure just stands there waiting in the middle of the bridge.
Well, miss, I do believe you should go meet your contact and return the object which was misplaced.
You're making me go out?
Well, it is your mistake, I believe. So
I'll go with you, May.
Right.
Please be safe, both of you. Lady Irene.
Yep.
Be safe.
There's a distinctive look when she looks at Mr. Porter as she goes to go out. Some of us actually have a spine, I think. She just kind of
Okay.
ushers out.
So it's just May and Irene heading out across the bridge towards where this figure waits. As you draw nearer, you can see they've got a cloak pulled forward over their face. This long cloak that covers up most of their skirts as well. And May kind of is sticking close by your side, Irene. She says, "We're gonna be all right, right?"
We are. If anything happens, I'm sure Detective Lottie or Maddie might come out to help.
And as you draw a little closer, the figure straightens up and says, "I see you brought a friend." "Well, I suppose I didn't say to come alone."
Just
Yeah.
support.
"Did you bring it?"
We did, didn't we, May?
Yeah, we did. And you see one elegantly gloved hand is held out towards you. And May's sort of grubbier, scruffier hand, she holds out and carefully places the fish back in the woman's hand. The woman, which is fingers curl over the fish as she tucks it back down into the pockets of her voluminous skirt.
Mm.
"Thank you."
You're welcome.
"Who?"
Oh, I'm Lady Irene von Watts.
"Lady Irene. What a curious name. feel like I should know it, but
It's all right. I'm a medium of sorts. This
a medium.
lady was distressed and ran into me, and we helped get things sorted.
What need do you have to bring a medium into this situation?
It was purely coincidental.
Well, I'm glad you could saw fit to return it. Perhaps this will teach you a little lesson of keeping your hands off things that aren't yours, May. And Lady Irene,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for bringing May here.
And who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
I think it's best for now we stick on an anonymous basis here.
Very well. And I'm there's kind of a bit of a look, like I'm trying to subtly get a look underneath the cloak hood.
Oh, make me a spot hidden. Yeah, let's see what you can spot.
I've had such great luck with that roll.
Come on.
AKA I've failed every single time I've tried to use it. Are these dice broken?
I think these dice are broken. That was for the benefit of those who can't see the rolls, that was a critical success. Not just an extreme success, a critical success, which is just stop rolling criticals.
It's mechanics. I'm not even rolling real dice.
As she goes to turn away from her, it's like a gust of wind blows off the river, and for a moment you get an absolutely clear view of her face. And you see this young woman with very pale, pallid-looking, unhealthy skin and white blonde hair. She looks, perhaps late teens at the most, like she's quite young. But you also recognize her. You saw this woman before, you saw this girl before at the house of Mr. William Belfont. You were introduced to her as Augusta Belfont, his daughter. And with that recollection, the pieces slot together in your mind, and you remember over whose fireplace you saw the carving of the fish, and who you were having that late night conversation with. As it was William Belfont. Now as Augusta, she turns away and starts heading off the other side of the bridge, back towards a waiting carriage.
All right, May, let's hurry. Let's not dawdle, and there's a quick turn to try and...
That went better than I thought. I was expecting...
Oh, this is certainly going to be interesting gossip. I'm not going to actually gossip to anyone except for those in the carriage.
Oh, right. Yeah. As you head back towards your own carriage.
Well, we have to follow them, right? I'm suspecting that she may potentially be involved in a murder. We should just get in the she's about to get in the carriage, right? It looks like Lady Irene is coming back, so how about we all steel ourselves, get in the carriage, and follow along? Or maybe I should just follow along. I'm the detective. I don't know why I'm involving you guys.
So from your perspective, you saw this meeting, you saw the two parties going their opposite ways.
Yeah, and so Lottie wants to follow.
I do suppose we could follow them in the carriage. It wouldn't hurt to find out where they find home. These private collections, like I said, become more obscene over time. It might be nice to see what else they have.
Can I come in right in the middle of that conversation?
Yes.
I don't think we need to follow them. I think I know where they're going.
Oh. Did she tell you? Are we invited?
We're not invited, but that is Augusta Belfont. That was Augusta Belfont, William Belfont's daughter.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Belfont doesn't ring a bell, do you? Me and Maddie eavesdropped on you talking with Sir Wallace about a book.
What? You did what? You eavesdropped on my personal conversation. I was talking about a family affair. I thought we were rather nice friends.
We are friends, but I was curious. And Miss Maddie was curious too, so I'm
Miss
sorry to...
Carter. You should be ashamed eavesdropping. I expect better from you.
It was a party. He walked off.
Yes, well,
It's good enough for some, I
yes,
suppose.
he did mention it at Belfont. Who could you tell more about this man?
He is a shipping magnate, and he is very interested in the occult. I've held multiple seances at his house.
Yes, well, he potentially...
And he's also the ones that mentioned the worship of the sea. It's all kind of coming together in my head. There was a fish symbol, quite like what we saw on the mantle there. I couldn't put it together at the time.
Well, why on earth would someone like that want something that might... well, we have to... I mean, we must go confront him. That's important. Now, this is doubly important now.
Well,
We can be
perhaps
sure that any wrongdoing has happened. I'm sorry, Miss
perhaps we
Carter.
should speak with my uncle first, see if this is something that is known, and then afterwards, perhaps during the daytime, we make a call.
Yes, it would be rather disturbing to see 5 people show up on your doorstep at midnight, one of them being a detective. I suppose that's fair.
Especially...
Wait, 5? Do I have to come with you?
Oh, no, you don't. Oh, I'm so sorry. I
No.
assumed you were part of the group at this point. No, you are welcome to go back to your home and festivities, my dear. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you. And Mr. Porter, sir,
Yes.
I'll pay you back, I promise.
Oh, no, dear, please.
I'll bring the next
Consider
good thing I
it,
find. I'll bring it to you, I promise.
Yes, well, that will do nicely, but I'll still pay you all the same.
Yes, well, do you have somewhere safe to stay in case this Belfont decides returning the fish was not enough?
Define safe?
Will you be alone? Will you have someone near you?
There's always someone there. No, being alone is one problem I don't have to worry about.
Great. Okay, well, that's safe enough to satisfy me, I suppose.
See you around, sir.
Yes, we will be in contact with you in some way or format in case it's needed again. In what I believe will potentially be an investigation. Not that you're in trouble. It's no worries. Sorry, I'm quite worrying you all.
Yeah. And with that, unless anyone stops her, May sort of scurries off into the night.
Nope.
Like, she's out of there. This has got very fishy.
Fishy. Before you all go home, would you care to come to my home for some tea and perhaps to discuss this a little more?
I'm going to object to tea. I need something stronger than tea at this point.
I'm certain we have something stronger.
Perhaps just a small bit of tea wouldn't be bad. And besides, there's been quite a lot of excitement, and I think it might do well to organize our thoughts a bit. Certainly no need to rush off and investigate a man who very well may have done nothing.
Very
Yes.
well and very wealthy.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm letting personal matters get the best of me. Yes. I think I am anxious and causing anxiety to the rest of you. Let us go get some tea.
Oh,
I
I
haven't
have
drank
my
yet
own.
today. I should probably drink.
I have my own reservations. I don't think you'll cause overly much stress to the rest of us. You are simply doing things as you think is best, and I think that's really all you can do, and all that can be expected.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Porter. I appreciate that. We perhaps we should catch up, Mr. Porter, on what we dealt with in the past.
Yes, I was quite intrigued when you had mentioned some happening the previous evenings.
Yes. It'll potentially make you understand why, despite how typically logical I am put a little off guard by finding out about another ritualistic type thing going on in the city. Yes, let's over tea,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
wine
Private
and
conversation
whatever.
and wine and
Yes.
Okay, so you
Right.
head back to Sir John's house on Grosvenor Square. By now, past midnight, the servants, those that are not dead, have retired for the evening. But if you ring the bell, you can probably get James's attention. Or you can help yourself to tea and whiskey and all that manner of stuff.
I will take care of it. I will go warm the water for the tea and bring the tray after leading them into one of the parlors.
My dear, so much toil. Don't you have people for this sort of thing?
They're all resting. It's fine.
Oh, well, yes, good enough for some.
I will check on. I will gently rap on the office door of Sir John. See if he's there.
I'm going to bed. Just a moment. I'll deal with things myself, James. Just turn the lamps down. It'll be fine.
Uncle, it's me.
Oh, Maddie, you're back. Come in. You're out late?
Yes. Would you perhaps have any books on religion, specifically mentioning Dagon?
Dagon.
Mm-hmm.
As in Dagon, the Assyrian god, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's something along those lines in the library. May I ask where the sudden interest has come from?
We found a bit of jewelry today. And one thing led to another, and apparently there was a murder.
Murder?
Someone's throat was sliced and thrown into the river.
Oh, how awful. I'll see what I can dig up in the library. Yes, indeed. Awful sounding business. How unfortunate. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Do you have guests?
Yes, Lady Irene and Detective Shaw are here, as well as Mr. Porter. He's been our escort tonight.
Maxwell, splendid chap. Glad to hear someone's keeping you young ladies safe, although you probably hardly need it. I've seen you're very capable indeed. Splendid. Yes, I'll go grab a couple
We're
of
in the
books.
parlor.
I'll join
We're
you
in the parlor.
Just a moment. I'll just grab the books.
Thank you, Uncle.
Tap. of his cane as he heads through into the library, where the front windows are still currently boarded up after all getting broken in the previous escapade.
I will rejoin everyone in the parlor. Uncle John is going to be fetching the books for us and will be joining us momentarily.
Quite kind of him at this late hour.
He's always up at this late hour.
Oh, I see. Insomnia plagues the man?
Something does.
Oh, well, I suppose none of my business, really, but... yes, this matter of the previous evening, please, do enlighten me.
Well, during, I believe you received the invitation, but couldn't make it. There was a party held, essentially welcoming me here. And so many people were here. But during the party, someone had broken into one of Uncle's I don't even words had
Cabinet?
taken yes, thank you. Cabinet. They had broken into one of Uncle's locked cabinets and taken a few of the silver pieces that he has.
Oh, dear. Terrible. And this somehow relates?
Well, yes, one of those pieces was occult in nature and was opened and released a monstrosity in the fog.
Really? I'm sorry, dear. I don't mean to laugh, but a monstrosity? You'll forgive me. What do you mean exactly by monstrosity and released from a jar? A jar?
It strangled all three of us at various points.
And it felt like tentacles.
It seemed like a trick of the mind, truly. I thought it was some kind of person. We encountered it in the fog, but then it broke through a window, and I didn't quite believe it would work, because I didn't even really believe it existed. I thought we were all just hysterical from having previously seen a dead body, but I held out the bottle that it originally came from to it and insisted it go back in, and, well, it did. I know it seems illogical. I really assure you, Mr. Porter, I'm an educated woman, and I come from a background where there's truth behind every mystery, but I have spent multiple days in reverence, and there is no logic I could sort out for what happened that night. And it looks like we may be in a potentially similar situation again today.
Indeed you might, and some things cannot be solved with mere logic. Mr. Porter.
Oh.
Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt.
Wonderful to see you this evening.
Sorry if
we haven't.
A little late hour. A little frazzled. Use the dressing gown.
Oh, no, by all means. We've called upon you at this late hour.
Yes. Here are the books you requested, Maddie, some Syrian religion. But, I'm a little concerned, as I would warn you most strongly. The cult of Dagon. Stay away from them.
You know of this?
Unfortunately, yes. I believe I mentioned to you before a past inconvenience concerning a previous protege and a almost apprentice of mine, whom I met out in Malta, Mr. Belfont.
Indeed, I was actually going to ask you about this. We seem to have ran into Augusta today, and
She was only about 6 years old last time I saw her.
Oh,
Yes. Anyway, it seems that William found a little religion along the way and has started, well, he has gathered a few friends and may, I don't want to, no, he started a cult, I believe.
yeah,
Out in West London. They're mostly harmless.
harmless. There was an individual. His throat was cut, and they tossed him into the Thames.
I said mostly harmless.
Yes, well, mostly harmless is not enough. I mean, as a detective, I must do something about this, and especially since, from what I understand, Belfont is wrapped up in what happened to my family. I mean, what do you recommend we do going forward?
If you
Are we-
really intend to cross paths with Belfont, you must tread carefully, approach him and his with caution. They have dabbled in things men were not meant to dabble with, and some of them have abilities and powers no normal human ought to. They have friends in places no normal human ought to. But knowledge is a powerful weapon. I would suggest arming yourselves before you take a step closer to him. But if you do, I would also suggest a swift bullet to the head tends to kill a man faster than he can drown you.
That's good to know.
So I wasn't over exaggerating when I said that we should be armed. I just didn't quite know what we should be armed with. Well, where can we procure this kind of knowledge? Should we just look into his history or what he worships, or?
My library is at your disposal, but also, yes, I would advise. The last I know of Belfont, he left my service working for me with the interest of going into business. These days, I believe he is mostly in import, export, and shipping.
Mm-hmm.
But what exactly the nature of his business is, I am not entirely sure.
Well, I can go ahead and start getting to the bottom of that and finding information out for you all if you need to call upon it, and then we will act in the morning, I suppose.
Yes, the hour is late. Little of any use gets done at this hour. I will, yes, allow you to, well, not a, I suggest you all get a good night's sleep on this, and then...
Yes, and I hope the same for you as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always nice to see you.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I must go seek my bed now. Good night, and pleasure to see you again.
Yes, the pleasure is mine.
And with a tap of his cane, he heads on to his room.
As he's walking away, I'll go ahead and pull Lady Irene aside for a moment, and I'll just kind of put my hand on hers and let her know. Lady Irene, well, since you eavesdropped, you would know I have some personal connection to this Belfont man, and I'm worried that if I see him, I might throw things off and let my own assumptions and concerns play into an important investigation over someone else who may potentially be dead. So I think I have my wits about me still for the day, and I know it was a hard day for you, and I'm not sure about Miss Carter and Mr. Porter, but I will stay up and I will do the research, and perhaps I will sleep in tomorrow after my research is done, and not add any of my personal judgment into your confrontation if you so choose to confront tomorrow. If you do forgive me for not attending.
I understand, Detective Lottie. I also would like to say I'm sorry for bringing up your personal business in such a public way. I was going to tell you at some point. I today has been a very rough day, and I'm sorry that it
Oh,
came out and so explosively.
no, it's quite all right. As a detective, I should be more careful about where I share this kind of information with people. So, perhaps it was partially my fault as well that you were even able to eavesdrop. Well, yes, I will go to the library, and I encourage you all to get rest and leave the research to me. Truly,
Be safe, all right?
yes, you too, please. If something happens, and I will be right there to be at your side. And Lottie will go ahead and walk away. And if Tis, I am going to duck out. But if I could do some kind of role to assist them in their research and confrontation, I'd love to do that.
I would say give me a. Well, this is, unless you have a better option, it's probably a library use role, unless you have a suggestion of another line of inquiry Lottie would be taking here. Like, is she calling on her contacts, or is she how?
No, I think library use would be appropriate. That's what she'd do. She'd
see what she can dig up.
Yeah. Great. Very good fail. I was very tired.
It's tired. It's late. Your head slumps over the page.
Well, hopefully I found at least something. Maybe I left a book open that y'all will find that's worth something.
So.
I love the idea of seeing Lottie just face first into a book, asleep, potentially drooling on the page that we need.
Yes.
Just wakes up to find the word Dagon printed backwards on her forehead.
Yes, well, that is where you'll find her.
Right, well. Oh, well. Okay.
Well, while they're talking, I'm going to check in on Mr. Porter because he seemed a little bit shocked at some of what was said. Are you all right?
Oh, yes, dear. I am. I'm quite all right. In the interest of sharing information, I suppose I should tell you something. Your uncle mentioned that the last time he had seen the girl, she was only 6 years old, and it reminds me of my daughter. Quite unfortunately, I lost both Matilda and Eliza, and it's been only 2 years. Perhaps you recall May, that Mudlark, mentioning that she felt as though she was drowning in seawater. And this is how I found them. Drowned in seawater. In my home. I believe the fiend is still somewhere at large, and so I suppose hearing things like that, I thought perhaps this might be in some way related. I know it's a silly thought, isn't it? Magical doings and
No, it's not silly at all.
just excuses we give ourselves, you see, to escape the trauma.
If you
really quite
like, I can show you the library where the damage was done.
Yes, but perhaps something like that might take my mind off things a bit. And Yes.
I will show him to the library. I will show him the scorch marks of where the fire hit the ground and the busted up cabinet and the busted up windows.
Hey, goodness, quite a party, wasn't it?
This wasn't the party.
Yes, yes, it was the mysterious creature in the jar. I understand. Yes.
Uh,
And the scorch marks from what now? It was.
Oh, we had to use the fire to help hold it off. It looked like an octopus of a sort.
Octopus.
It smelled of the brine, and when it choked us, it felt like tentacles.
I must admit it's a bit much for me to wrap my head around, but I don't believe you're the sort to simply lie for the sake of carrying on with an old man. So the jar is sealed and now somewhere safer, I presume.
Yes.
Good, good.
And I've given my uncle a talking to about keeping such things in a place where anyone could easily abscond with it.
Yes, a cabinet of curiosity is, of course, important for any gentleman, but things of danger ought to be kept away, I suppose. But this cult of... You're all right, dear.
Just realized the bottle with the octopus monstrosity was given to Uncle by Mr. Belfont.
And stranger it becomes. Plot thickens, as they say. Yes, yes. Belfont. Story. Would I be
Yes.
familiar with the Belfont family?
Yes, you would know the name Belfont, and this is now basically for everyone's references. Everyone know at least as much that William Belfont, now sort of his name's mentioned enough, he owns a sort of shipping company. He has a large house in West London, a beautiful wife, and twin children, who Charles and Augusta.
Yes.
You have possibly met him, like, at other gatherings and things, but never sort of talked to him much one-to-one. Yeah.
Thank you. Strange, this Belfont family. Perhaps the detective will turn something up as to what exactly it is they import and export. That would be an excellent start. Perhaps we know some of the same people. I have had things brought in from elsewhere, and yes.
This is going to be awkward.
I would say so. How do you bring up? You've presented us with a bottle that contained a strange creature, and we believe your daughter is involved in the murder of a man by the Thames. Yes.
And I've held many a seance at their house.
Oh, yes. I suppose I should have suspected as much.
It's all very fashionable.
Perhaps meeting with them tomorrow is not a good idea. We do not have enough information.
Yes, I would agree. Why don't we spend some time investigating this business of his? I think that might be quite worthy. And then, while investigating that, I wouldn't be surprised if we come across some that are a bit more closely related, and we might find out some details about the family itself. Two birds, one stone. Yes.
I agree.
Okay.
All right.
So, as you sort of head home, get a I'll leave it up to you as to how much of a good night's rest each of your characters would get after the day you've just had. But yeah, with your next plans being to, from the sounds of it, you're planning on sort of investigating the Belfont family more, is this? Or what's everyone's sort of next line of inquiry here?
Maddie will be looking into the cult as well as to the histories of Dagon and related religions to see if there's a connection.
And I would be intrigued to see down at the docks if I might find who is bringing in the goods for them, and perhaps I might know somebody there. I don't know. Might be worthwhile.
Okay, you're looking at the docks. And Irene.
I will be asking some of my other occulty friends to see if they perhaps know any more about the family. And probably while I'm doing that, I will also go to a flower shop.
Okay. So I'm going to start off asking for, well, again, if anyone ever has better suggestions of roles, feel free to suggest. But I think another library use from Miss Maddie, Delver of Libraries.
Success.
A success. Okay. So you sort of, and is this your uncle's library, the British Museum Library, a bit of both? Where would you like to?
This would be the British Museum Library as well as Uncle's Library. And maybe if I see any bookstores, I might browse and see if they have anything of that nature as well.
Okay, and I'll get back to what you find in just a moment. Meanwhile, Maxwell asking around at the docks. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's a particularly useful skill here for information gathering of this kind. I'd say for quality of information here, you could go for possibly something on the social interaction side, so sort of like down the charm persuade line. Or if it's purely based off contacts and who you know, probably a credit rating roll.
I think we begin from credit rating.
Okay. So you're sort of asking around, sort of starting to dig into things. And you know a few people who have dealt with Belf. They'll like nod along, people you talk to. As soon as you start mentioning Belfont, people start getting a bit more nervous. They start getting a bit more cagey. And they don't really want to go into specifics. They soon find an excuse to sort of be elsewhere quite rapidly. The only real thing you do pick up is that Belfont is sort of the general area of the docks over in let me just get my right docks. There's no point having a map of London. Sort of the general area of the docks where he sort of brings in his goods over sort of on the east of London at the commercial docks sort of south of the river. But also that some stuff that's loaded off his boats gets taken directly upriver by barge, somewhere upriver on the Thames. But where and what and who does it, no one's willing to tell you.
Disappointing, but understandable.
And whilst I'm just double checking something else before we get back to Maddie, Irene.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, any sort of, if you're asking around with people, any of your sort of social skills roles, charms, persuades, those sort of things. would be, I think, suitable.
All right, I will probably try my persuade skill. And this is where we're getting into where the dice are definitely not broken because I failed.
Hey, look, it can't all be critical successes.
I know, right? I was terrified if it was going to be a critical success, I was going to wipe this machine. Makes no sense.
Yeah, again, like, you know your occult circles well. You'll talk to people, and on a sort of social level, people are happy to talk about the Belfonts and such charming children, very well brought up, so well behaved. But as soon as you start asking anything more specific than that Belfont hosts the occasional seance, people clam up. And you notice that, especially amongst those of your sort of medium occultist friends who are more on the occulty side than the charlatany side, they seem very wary and nervous when the name Belfont comes up.
Oh. Well, I guess that should have been too expected.
And you said you were going to a flower shop. So I got hair in my eye.
It's totally a distraction from all the crazy events. But I wanted to see if I could pick up some chrysanthemums and, well, specifically three chrysanthemums, 3 daffodils, and 6 purple hyacinths.
Yes, those you can quite irretrievably obtain from, some good flower shops.
Yep.
Okay, so as you're off buying flowers and as Maxwell is asking questions down at the docks, Maddie, back in your uncle's library, sort of poring through the tomes, there are several tomes that mention Dagon in his as an Assyrian god. But more interestingly, you find one book that seems to talk about Dagon in a slightly different way. It mentions Dagon and a figure called Father Dagon in conjunction with another figure called Mother Hydra. And the reason this mention sort of leaps out to you is it mentions in the text as the greatest of the deep ones, which rings a bell from the incantation Irene had repeated to you. And this book is like sort of tucked to the back of one of your uncle's shelves. It's a fairly large leather-bound tome, and it's got these wood print illustrations on it that are really quite disturbing to look at interspersed among the text. Like, there's just something uncanny about the angles in some of these prints. And there's no title on the spine or printed on the cover. But on the inner flyleaf, you see it's the word, it just says nameless cults. Translated from the German. And there's a brief penciled note underneath it, like on the flyleaf. It says, to John, I hope you find my work pleasing. M.C. And it's a fairly, it's an impressive book. It says it was printed in 1845 in London. It's not one you're familiar with, you've ever come across in your readings before, but just from a flick through, it seems to be dedicated to the descriptions of the practices and worships of various cults. And I'm going to leave it up to you as to how deeply you want to read this book.
I'm going to read it cover to cover.
Okay. So as you sit down, as Irene's out buying flowers and Maxwell's out asking questions, You delve into this book, and it describes here all sorts of cults and societies, the worship of those of deep ones that live beneath the waves, of the summoning of suns, of creatures in woodland and air, and all these strange beings, things that sound almost like the creature you saw in the fog, things that sound a lot worse. And my question is, having seen what she's seen so far, would Maddie believe that this sort of things could exist out there?
She's indecisive. She knows that the thing in the fog was somewhat real because she felt it and interacted with it. But she's not sure how much of this inside the book is real.
Okay. I think she's seen enough to know that at least some of this is real.
Mhm.
It's more just a question of whether the full
How
impact
much-
of what she's reading will hit now or hit later at another point. And I think she knows enough now to this is my hurt. Would you I would like you to roll me 2d8s, please, here.
2d8.
Yes, please. And I would
13.
like you to deduct 13 points from your sanity.
Ouch.
And hang on. As you read this, like this chill fear starts. Let me just check where you are with sanity wise.
27.
And as you read this, something just kind of snaps in your mind as you read this. And for now, I need you to mark off temporary insanity. Just reading this stuff. If this is true, and it must be true. You've seen it. You know it to be true, and this chill realization of if this is true, then the world is so much more horrifying than you ever thought. The fact that these things are out there, the fact that they exist far beyond human understanding, beyond comprehension.
What
I would-
season is this?
I think it. What season?
Autumn, summer, spring?
I think it's autumn. I think I decided last week and have now forgotten.
Okay, so we're going to
Autumn.
say it's autumn.
Yeah.
I am going to barricade my windows in my room.
Well, first of all, I need you to roll me a d10. Because you are
A d10.
Yes. Yes, I do, I'm afraid. Because currently, having lost that many points, you're ceding just a little
4.
bit of control to me. As you read this, as the scales fall from your eyes, you gain 5 points of Cthulhu mythos here off the bat. You know things
Where do
now.
I put that?
If you look on your sheet, you'll see it's on your skills. It's underneath credit rating.
Uh-huh.
You can put a 5 in there. And after spending a day out getting flowers and gathering information, Maxwell and Irene, you return to Grosvenor Square. Sir John has been out for the day, off doing business of his own. But as you return, you can hear the sound of things breaking in the library. Like the sound of someone just smashing at furniture, the sound of someone just tearing things apart. And the servants are out in the hall, sort of cowering back from the door in fear.
And, tell me, what is happening in there? Do you know?
It's Miss Carter. I don't know what's happened. She was just reading, and then...
Well, I think perhaps it's best you stay here, and the door is locked, or is it open?
It's open. Maybe should we bar the door? Keep her in there?
No.
No.
I'll go in and I'll try to speak with her reasonably. And if something should happen, then you can see about barring the door. But for now, I think perhaps she's just in a bit of hysterics.
Okay, Maddie, from your perspective, just this wave of anger and just the world is this broken, dangerous place, and just this desire to rip and tear it apart has risen up through you, and through this destructive haze, you hear the sound of a door opening. And Maxwell, you see just in the wreckage of this library, like books
I'm
with their
going to
covers
take
turned
whatever's
off,
nearest to my hand and throw it at the door.
and flying towards you comes this heavy-bound book.
Miss Carter, it's me. It's Porter. Maxwell, you know.
No,
I don't mean
no,
to do you
go
any harm.
away. Go away now. Go away.
No,
It'll also get to you.
What will get to me?
Everything.
Oh no.
Maybe is there some...
Really, it's all right, dear.
No, go away.
It's just you and me here.
I'm going to take another heavy book and throw it at him.
Okay, for this one, I'm going to ask for a throw from Maddie and a dodge from Maxwell. Irene, you can see this book sailing past. And...
Well, I've done quite poorly.
As did I.
Oh, sorry, it has the wrong window open. Yeah, the book sails right past Maxwell and thuds into the whole wall next to Irene.
I used the door as a bit of a shield. Please.
Maddie? What's
Nope,
happening
it's all
to you?
gotta go. It's all got to go.
But you love books.
Is the fireplace going?
Yes.
I am going to start throwing a couple of books at the fireplace. I don't care if it makes it in, but I'm throwing books at the fireplace now.
At seeing that, I'm going to charge in. I can't abide destruction of such... Oh. But I'll be rushing in with the intention to try to grab her.
Okay, I think I'm going to ask for fighting brawl here.
Oh, good. That's my strong suit, you know.
And either a dodge or a fighting brawl from Maddie here, depending on whether you want to try and fight back and punch him, which I think...
I've missed it by a single point.
You can spend luck.
Ow.
I have books in my hand, and
I'll be
use
honest
them.
and just I'll deduct that point because I would have spent it anyhow.
That was a critical success. Just...
Does
How would you like to do this to
well, I've got a couple of books in my hand, so I've probably thrown one at him, and it hits him somewhere. And then I've taken the other one and hit him on top of the head as he's coming at me.
And there's just this mighty thud. And, hang on, I had not looked up the amount of damage a book could cause. This is what, having you hear this mighty thunk as this... Let's see if this large leather-bound tome, the same one that you're still holding in your hand despite all this. You seem to have not been able to quite let go of it as you slam it down into Maxwell's head. I'm assuming you don't have a damage bonus on your sheet.
I don't
Thankfully.
know.
No, you
I
don't.
have. No, it's a 1d3.
So just roll me 1d6 here for the damage of this heavy book.
Maxwell Porter is going to die
Oh,
by book.
I roll it? Okay. 1d6.
Live by the
I
pen,
think
die
so.
by the book.
Actually, no, it's a critical. I think it might be max damage. So that's 6 points of damage.
Just going to lay down on the ground for a while now.
How many points do you have total?
Oh, I had 11. Now I have 5.
Luckily, yeah, that is a major wound. As that
If I'll
strikes
just have a
you
lie down.
on the head, and I need you to make me a Constitution roll, please, as you like fall down to the floor.
Oh, my critical.
What is going on tonight? That's our 4th critical. You maintain your consciousness, as you can see Maddie standing above you. And Maddie, it's at this point that your initial rage starts to sort of clear from your eyes, and you look down to see Maxwell on the ground.
My dear, I do believe you've split my skull. Oh.
I'm gonna go run up to my room and bar the door behind me, pushing people out of my way. I don't know if I drop that book or not.
I will leave the choice to you.
Probably not.
Okay, so carrying nameless cults with you, you run upstairs to your room. And leaving Irene and Maxwell downstairs.
Lady Irene's going to look at the servants. It's like, don't just stand there. Help!
I'll call a doctor. There's
Yes.
James in
Yes.
sort of panic and goes rushing off.
I'm going to walk in there and see if I can find, a handkerchief or something to
Like,
help with Maxwell's head. She beamed you good.
I can say honestly, I've never been hit quite so hard. And I've met some do-batters in my time.
Do-batters, indeed.
Yes.
Here, do you want to try and stand up, or
Yes, I should.
so we can sit you in a
make myself
chair?
presentable. Yes, please.
They're calling a doctor, so
Oh, don't bother the doctor. Not at this hour. It's too late. I'm sure it'll be. Sure it'll be fine.
is he bleeding from book
I
keeper?
say probably a little bit, yes.
You're bleeding.
This is just known to happen. Yes.
But come on, you need assistance. Here, let me.
No. Please. The appearance of a gentleman must be upheld first and foremost. I will be fine.
I just don't want that good brain of yours to spill out all over the floor. It would ruin the
Thankfully-
carpet.
Yes. At which point I remember the books that have found their way into the fire, and I try to pull them out with the poker and save what I can.
You like pull the remains of these half-burnt books out the fire. Like,
She
Oh.
threw books in the fire?
Yes, it's
So
crime
unlike her.
against. Oh, the beating on the head I could take, but this is. You must
Can-
go and speak with her. She seems quite distraught. Let her know that I'm all right, won't you?
I'll try, but you must sit and wait for the doctor. I won't take any no's from no gentleman right now.
Excuse me, ma'am. You are just a young pup, are you not?
I am.
And you presume to tell me what my business is. How dare you?
Sit down. And she just turns and walks walks out, and she's going upstairs to where I know Maddie's room is.
And all the same, I take the advice and take the seat.
Yeah, everything's going a bit blurry at the moment, like that.
I'm just picturing Maxwell's head going wah 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 wah.
But yeah, Irene, you head upstairs to Maddie's room.
Do I knock on the door?
No response. The door's locked.
Maddie, please open this door. And I start jiggling the handle.
No response.
Oh.
The curtains inside of the room are drawn shut, and the fire is going high, and every candle or lamp in the room is lit.
Yeah.
Please, Maddie, let me help you.
No response. She's sitting in front of the fire.
Well, I think as Maddie sort of sits in front of the fire, all the candles burning up, her room sort of lit up as the sun sets outside and night sort of takes over the city. As Irene stands outside, sort of trying to get through to Maddie, and as Maxwell sits with head in hands downstairs in the wreckage of the library. I think that might be a moment to leave things for tonight.